Hello, everyone. Welcome to another special edition of Histories of Horror. And this is one of the October double specials that we were going to do for you all. I'm really excited about today's event, but first, I wanted to talk about, before we get into today's guest, I want to honor someone whose strength echoes through every episode, which is my co host, AL, because she's not just a voice in the dark, she's truly a fighter. She's a caregiver navigating her husband's dialysis and his potential kidney transplant and her own health battles at the same time, along with all of the systemic things happening right now with the shutdown and all of that, and still showing up with wit, wisdom, and unwavering grit to do this with you guys. So we really need to just take the time to give her a round of applause for that. But more to that, if you've ever felt the chill of her insight or the warmth of her humor, now is the time to give back. AL's GoFundMe is live, and every contribution will be helping ease the weight she carries while preparing for a major move because she and her husband are living in Iowa right now, but their family's originally from Tennessee. And if this doesn't go well, is a strong probability that we might not have him. And if he did pass, he would like to be near his family and loved ones and buried in his home state. So they're trying to prepare for their move here in a few months. And the GoFundMe is live, looking for every contribution that can help to ease that burden because it's going to be very difficult, but it will be linked in the show notes. And I just want to lift her way because she's lifting the show and doing this. And neither she nor I are paid for it. It's just out of our own entertainment and to elevate authors and stories because we love it. So if you could do that, it'd be wonderful. On another token, and this is kind of shifting over into some good news, while we're speaking of legacy, I need to take the moment to thank every single one of you because you guys have come through fierce for me. And I would not be where I'm at, but because of your votes, shares, and support, and your donations to Starlight Children's Foundation, I've made it to the quarterfinals of the Face of Halloween contest, and I am currently holding steady at number 3. So get on it, guys. Go vote. Go vote. Vote. We need to get some donation votes too because it's 2-for-1 donations today, right now, until 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's about 6 o'clock right now, so we got 3 hours. So go get on it, guys. And also, you have the free daily donation votes, and you can still donate and get donation votes as well, or just do the free daily once daily every 24 hours vote. Either way, if you can do both, that's great. I'm going to love you so much and you're going to be doing me a great favor. But if you can just do the free dailies, that's what I really need, because you got to remember, this isn't just a costume contest or a Halloween enthusiast. It's a campaign for visibility, artistry, and impact that ultimately goes to seriously ill children. And since I'm a mother of children with Duchenne muscular dystrophy who are both wheelchair bound, I've been that parent. I know what that's like, which is the reason why I took my love of Halloween and every single bit of my creativity, despite having been a parent that's had to watch my kid on life support, and am here doing this. Because even if I don't win and I don't get the 13,000 or to meet Jamie Lee Curtis or Kane Hodder or Matthew Lillard, which would be incredible to someone like me, I've made that much money and I've done that much for Starlight Children's Foundation, and I would not be here if it wasn't for you. That's what matters, guys. That's what rallying community does. And that's what we're here on Histories of Horror to actually do, to show you all of the things about how everything can be horrible and we can take that and transmute it for good. This is the way we do that. So the link will be in the show notes, and the round is currently going. It ends on Thursday, so make sure that you get those votes in, and let's make some horror history together. That said, very long introduction today. Let's get into the guest. So please give a special round of applause to Michael Nilsson, who is the author of you got a couple of different books. I think the one that we chose to use for your cover was Bless Me Father. And yeah, it was just that and your world of witches, mysticism, and magic that really made me interested in talking to you today. So welcome to the show.
Glad you're having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Mike, your work bridges history, folklore, and contemporary storytelling to illuminate experiences with magic and power. We're excited to hear about your process and perspective. Welcome.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. Can you start by telling us what first drew you to explore witches, witchcraft, and magic in your writing?
It's a two-edged sort of thing. Back in my younger years, back in my teens and 20s, I was fascinated with fantasy, and I happened upon the books by Mary Stewart, The Crystal Cave, and that group of books, and just loved the idea of, Merlin and Morgana. So I always had this sort of fascination with it. And let's face it, life is just too full of deja vu to not believe in magic somehow. And once you start looking at it from a natural standpoint, you see it everywhere. So I had written a couple of books, and I'd kind of done my thing. I was pretty happy with them. And so I thought I was done writing books because I was never meant to be an author. I didn't write my first book until I was 67. So I thought I was done. My daughter wasn't having any of it. She wanted me to keep writing. And I said, I don't really have anything to write about. And she said, make it a treasure hunt and put in a couple of witches and some druids. And so that prompted some studying. And the first book became the second book. And the third book is due out in the spring.
You've had an interesting path, not just as a writer, but as Dr. Michael Nelson. How has your life experience shaped your stories about societal perceptions of power?
Wow, that's a pretty tough question. I had the opportunity to serve in the armed forces and I got to learn all about that kind of power. Didn't like it very much. But once I got out of the service, I started experiencing life at a very basic level and started seeing the natural outworkings of things, which are they're just magical. We all exist because there's magic in the world. We couldn't animate our forms if there wasn't some kind of magic. And so once you believe that and you see it everywhere, then it's a substantial experience. And the idea to write about it is it's a deeply personal thing because you feel the good that it does. And it puts you in touch with your inner spirit too.
So many authors point to early influences. Were there books, films, or historical accounts, maybe even real women in history, that sparked your fascination with witchcraft or the word witch?
Well, the word witch has got a pretty negative connotation. Unfortunately, nowadays we're starting to see more acceptance of the balancing of the term witch. The one that I appreciated the most was Morgan or Morgana because she was not just a witch, but she was also a powerful divination person and a warrior. And not only that, but everything I studied, the tales of Morgana go back to practically I think about 200 is where they have the first mention of her. And throughout all of these ages, her story has continued. So it's fascinating. So I couldn't help but weave that in to the book.
To make an emphasis point here. The word witch actually comes from the Old English word witche, which is where Wicca comes from, and what it actually means, wise woman. So that is one of the most important things I think we need to emphasize on this episode is yes, there have been different connotations associated with it, but the true actual origins of the word only mean wise woman and not in any way imply negative sorcerer or practicer of divination and dark magics or child sacrifice and the such, as many people believe.
Witchcraft can be portrayed in countless ways: mystical, gothic, psychological, and especially feminist. How would you describe your style when telling stories about witches and power?
The stories about witches in power is just I think, the weaving of the natural world, creating a visual experience of a three-dimensional woman that was doing well until the Roman Catholic Church came along. But I think the stories write themselves if you let yourself get immersed in the subject. I don't purport to be quite the expert on it, but everything that you find supports something that resonates inside of you that makes it easy to visualize.
That makes sense to help with the manifestation of the whatever it is you're trying to build. When building suspense around magic and supernatural power, do you plan meticulously or let the narrative and the characters' abilities evolve organically?
I let it evolve organically. You know, you put the characters in place and you set the scene, but the actors have to perform the play, and there needs to be room for allowing it to expand. I'm not one of those authors that makes a ton of notes, a framework to stick the story to. I'm much more visceral. I let the characters, the witches, the druids, their own strength of character. So organically is the answer to that.
Why do you think stories about witches resonate so strongly, especially when exploring fear, empowerment, or societal judgment?
Well, until recently, witches were really misunderstood. And the old prejudices that were brought by the Christians and the Catholics in particular painted this picture of a group of people that worship Satan. But nowadays, we're starting to expand our minds a little bit, and there's more information out there. We're starting to accept things for what they truly are. So there's a little bit of hedge witch in all of us. There's a little bit in us. And as we bump up against things in our own world, there's an agreement that we feel that part of that is us. And the societal judgment will always be prejudice, especially if there's a Christian faith pushing it. I think Wicca and witches in general are doing a lot because they're starting to appear more regularly and they're being more accepted by society as a result. We get a recognition that they're all about good and have nothing to do with evil.
Readers love the story behind the story. Is there a story you've written about a witch that has an unexpected origin?
Yes, the books that I wrote that we're talking about, the Annie Abbott and the Druid Stones, and the Annie Abbott and the Race to the Red Queen. The witch that is the central character in that book is modeled after my daughter. From the time that she was very young, like 8, 9 years old, I would take her out of school every year for 2 weeks, and we would go exploring. We would go on a learning experience. Dove with we went and rescued sea turtles, and we explored the shipwrecks in the Apostle Islands, and we went for the elephant seal mating season uh, at Big Sur. So each one was supposed to be a learning, a magical experience. Bringing magic and witches into focus was just all it took was me looking at my daughter and seeing what a magical human being she is and has become. So I didn't look for it in that, but her injection of her life force into the book is what helped drive it for my writing.
Folklore, historical witch trials, or people who define norms ever shaped your writing?
Only marginally, I say. I've studied the witch trials and a lot of lore, but I really wanted my books for when people bumped up against magic, have it be a good experience. So that was what I went for rather than the negative. There's lots of folklore and there's lots of history in the witch trials and of real world women who had defied expectation. Those are the ones that I wanted to write about.
Do your stories ever take somewhere darker or transformative than expected, especially when exploring witchcraft?
My writing mostly is about the facing down of evil by witches and the recognition of good and evil and what it was used for. It was meant to be a metaphor for it.
Many people still assume witches are either evil or fantastical. What's one misconception about the word witch and magic you wish readers understood?
It's important to recognize that they're people first, that there is power in goodness and there's no power in darkness on the dark side. One is the absence of light and one is the presence of light. And so in order to contrast the potential for good that witches represent, it was necessary to create a darker side, but the darker side needed not have a form that could be deemed sympathetic. And so that black and white comparison throughout the books about which side represented truth, justice.
What's the most rewarding part of writing about witches and reclaiming power through magic? What impact do you hope these stories have on people?
I think, at least in the way that I wrote it, that the witches, with their full personalities, I tried to paint them with 3 dimensional personalities so that they were not just people, they were also people of substance. Because of what they recognized in the world around them is what made them magical. And I want people to experience the magic and the recognition that witchcraft is only powered by the good of nature.
In the broader tradition of fantasy storytelling, where do you see your work fitting and leaving the most impact?
I want people to recognize that it is entertainment with a message behind it to the world about preserving nature and recognize the magic in it.
For aspiring writers to explore witches and magical themes, what's the single most important piece of advice that you would give them?
I would let the story play itself out. And the most important thing, of course, is the start. But you can go into it with a good head of steam. And if you don't let the book somewhat write itself, you end up with characters that are flat. So take the time to paint the scenery and describe the people as densely as you possibly can. And then you're watching life unfold. That way, the books write themselves. You don't need to puzzle over it.
Well, thank you for your time today, Mike. We've really appreciated all of your insights and wisdom and the stories that you've shared with us. Thank you for bringing your perspective on witchcraft and magical power and the reminders of why these stories continue to captivate and inspire us. Real quickly, can you let us know where our listeners can get your books?
My books are available on Amazon, at Barnes and Noble. There's a couple of other sites like Goodreads and things like that you can order it from, but Amazon and Barnes and Noble mostly.
Absolutely. To our listeners, if you want to experience the world of witches and magical women through Mike Dee's imagination, check out his books wherever you can buy your reads.
Thanks again, Mike, for joining us. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Stay curious, stay empowered, and we'll see you next time on Histories of Horror.